Okay, today's a special day, Tavo. So these parshas are filled with words of encouragement, Moshe Rabbeinu to Bnei Yisrael. That's the whole thing of Mishnah Torah. It's words of encouragement of Eden to go in the ways of Torah. So one of the psukim in this week's parsha, which is not so far from any of the other psukim in this week's parsha, is the halachta b'derachav. Halachta b'derachav. The Eibush says that you should go. Moshe Rabbeinu says you go in the Eibush's way, and it talks about all the blessings that will happen when a yid is v'halachta b'derachav. It says Yikim Hashem lo'lam kodesh kasher nishba aloch kisishmer et mitzvah Hashem alakecha v'halachta b'derachav. You should go in his ways. It's a pretty innocent pasuk. An innocent pasuk. V'halachta b'derachav goes in the ways in the Eibush there. The Rambam turns this into a mitzvah. One of the Tayyag mitzvahs, not only one of them, but it's right up there. When he starts the book of Sefer HaMitzvahs, one of the very, very, very first mitzvah ches. Hisha tzivanu, big words. Hisha tzivanu lihidomas bayizbarech. The Eibush said we should be very similar to him. We should be very similar to him. The Eibush said we should try to be similar to him. Why? Because the Am Yisrael are in Russian they say pachozhe. There's no word for it in any other language. You know, it's like every language has its funny words.
Imitate.
That's it. So the Yid has to be very similar to the Eibush. Who omrei v'halachta b'derach v'kvar keifel tzivadzev omer. The Torah already mentioned this many times. Alechas b'chol deracha v'ba pidish zeh ma kodesh baruch hu nikra racham afata hayei racham ma kodesh baruch hu nikra chana afata hayei chana ma kodesh baruch hu nikra tzadik at ato hayei tzadik ma kodesh baruch hu nikra chosed af ato hayei chosed. The Eibush is called racham. He has mercy. You should have mercy. The Eibush has chanun. You should have chanun. The Eibush that has tzidkis, he's righteous. You should be righteous. The Eibush
have to say this.
Yeah, it's like funny. Because really the other psukim are all necessary for a certain limud. But this sort of the Rambam holds that this pasuk is like. So what's the pasuk telling me? As you'll see soon. In other words, the emphasis.
Doesn't Rashi bring this?
No, Rashi, Rashi in other places. In other places.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's nicht negeya if it's this pasuk or the other pasuk. For argument's sake, the Rambam picked this pasuk. You can take he says kafel. It could be. I mean, we're not today going into this. This is not what the Sicha is about. So to answer your question, the simplest answer to your question is that you're right. There's many places that the Torah says this word valachta b'derachav, and they all come to tell you the same exact thing. They all come to tell you this. That's like Rambam says. Kfar kefil tzivah zeh. He already repeated this tzivah many times. Probably if you go deep into it, each one has another kveich, and each one's telling you something else. But okay, that's it. Rashi doesn't say anything about this. There are tshuvas that were written to the son of the Rambam. He had a very choshev son. His name was Rabbi Avram. There is a collection of tshuvas called Tshuvas Rabbi Avram ben Rambam, and they asked him questions about his father's anhagis, about his father's toidas. So they asked him, "What kind of thing is this?" The Rambam writes an introduction to the Sefer Mitzvahs, and he explains that there's a lot of mitzvahs. So how do you end up with 613? Right? Everyone has the same number, 613. But how you get to it is not the same. The Chinuch has his list of mitzvahs, and the Rasad Yugon has his list of mitzvahs, and the Rambam has his list. Everyone says the number is 613. But who's in, who's out? How you count it? That's a whole Torah. The Moinia mitzvahs, how you count the mitzvahs, is a whole Torah. What is counted, who's in, who's out? What's counted as a detail, and what's counted as a main thing? How you count the mitzvah. And the Rambam goes through his formula of what he counts as mitzvahs. He goes through a long thing as an introduction to Sefer HaMitzvahs. And one of his things is that if it's a general mitzvah, keep all the mitzvahs. Keep all the mitzvahs, not a mitzvah. Anything which is a dova kloli, a general thing, which is it touches all the other mitzvahs, that's not a specific mitzvah. So, it's a general. That's what they asked him. The Rebbe says even more. What do you mean by go in his ways of the Eibishter? It's more than that. The Gemara says that Magid the mitzvahs the Eibishter tells the Jews to do, he does it himself. So if he tells the Yidden to pray, he prays. If he tells the Yidden to put on film, he puts on film. So you tell him what do you do? It's his derachim. Because the Chatchila the Zoya says, Ki Yeshorim Darke Hashem Deibish's derachim, or there's mitzvahs. The mitzvahs is Deibish's derachim. So you're telling, this is the most closest mitzvah. V'alachta b'derachim means, do the mitzvahs. That's what, which is Deibish's derachim? Mitzvahs. So that was the question they asked to the Rambam, Rabbi Avram ben Aram. So Rabbi Avram ben Rambam answered like this. First he gives a big introduction. He says, we're not like the Karawites. Karawites, they read Psukim, we read it with the Kabbalah. And the part is the Sifrei, Vezel Loshen HaSifrei. This is the end of he brings the Loshen, because the Chachmei Mishnah tell us that this is a mitzvah, so we know it's a mitzvah. Okay. But still they ask the question, a logical question. So he says, I'll give you an answer. He says basically like this. These are his words. Pashta Pshat is, the Rebbe says you could teach it in three ways. First thing is a Pashta, he says that all the 600 mitzvahs, 13 mitzvahs are mitzvahs. And this is about midas toivus, about being kind to other people. This is a special mitzvah, being kind to other people. Being kind. It's not a general mitzvah. Putting on film is not being kind. Putting up a mezuzah is not being kind to another human being. This mitzvah of halachta b'derachim is to be kind to other human beings. Okay. The Rebbe says that there's a little bit of a shvach pshat. Why? Because that is all part of the mitzvah of ahavta l'riacha kamoicha. That is the mitzvah of ahavta l'riacha kamoicha. Like the Rambam says many times. Shetzivonu b'chemla v'rachmones v'chesed v'ahavta l'riacha kamoicha. And the Rambam already wrote in that same klal. Loitziva lasis dover zulas mashi yodayin. You can never say that something is a command, something that we already know. So even if you're going to say it's not a general mitzvah, doesn't mean do all the mitzvahs. But you can't say, unless sometimes the Torah specifically, but otherwise you don't say that the Eibishter repeated the mitzvah to tell you that this mitzvah is counted twice. You can't count it. If the Eibishter says be kind to other human beings, the Eibishter said be kind to human beings. The fact that the Torah repeats itself 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 times, be kind to other human beings, says it from this angle or the other angle or the other, it doesn't matter. So the Rambam writes many places, to comfort the mourners, to help the. He says that's all holachach midos of Shalakadosh Baruch Hu. Mahu mal b'shalomim, afata mal b'shalomim. The Eibishter b'mevaka choylom afata. Hakadosh Baruch Hu nichem avelim atam. Hakadosh Baruch Hu korvim meiv ata korvim meisim. So it's a little schwach to say that was the answer. Second possibility that Rebbe says is that maybe the Rabbi Avram ben Rama meant to say like this. Every ma'aseh has two parts to it. Every mitzvah. There is the action, and there is the feeling of the mitzvah, the kavanah. So in being kind, there's two things. There is doing kindness and feeling. You could do a lot of good things. You can give sandwiches to all the poor people in town, but you might not have rachmanas in them. Whatever, you're doing it. So there's two mitzvahs. You could say one is the mitzvah on ma'aseh, and one is the mitzvah on the feeling of rachmanas to the beggar. One is a action of helping other people, and another is the feeling of compassion towards other people. One is the mitzvah of ma'aseh, one is the mitzvah of chemla, a feeling. The Rebbe says that's also a little bit of a shvach pshat to say that's what he meant, because when the Torah Pasha says v'afta l'reacha kamoicha, it doesn't just mean give him a sandwich, give him a ride when it's raining, give him a ride. Someone tells me what's the difference? He says between so he says there was in Lakewood, a guy is standing, it's raining, he's standing in the corner and he sees a car, Yiddish guy, this guy pulls over with a little beaten up car. He says, can I get a ride with you? He said, I'd love to, but you're soaking in water and this is not my car, it's my brother-in-law's car. So the guy goes away and then he sees this fancy Suburban that stops. So he says, the guy says, what can I do? He says, can I come into your car? He says, what's the problem? It's not my car anyway, it's my brother-in-law. Come straight in. So bepashtus, when the Torah says, v'hafta l'riacha kamoicha, it doesn't only mean to give him a ride in your car or give him a sandwich in your hand. It means that you should do it with a feeling of rachmanis. And also on the other hand, when the Torah says valchta b'dרכיו, it doesn't just mean you should feel bad. Feel bad for all the Jews that are nebuch in pain. Do nothing, but just feel bad. This doesn't make sense to split the mitzvah like this. And saying that there's two separate mitzvahs. One, you feel bad. Didn't do anything yet. Didn't help a single Jew. Didn't give a nickel of tzedakah. I already did the mitzvah. What am I doing? I'm feeling bad. Honey, don't bother me. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm feeling bad right now. I'm doing a mitzvah. I'm feeling bad. Then, second mitzvah, you go help out other people.
So when's the action and when is the feeling?
Yeah, it's a little hard to say that they're mamish two separate mitzvahs.
What is the feeling? How does that react?
That feeling is true.
That is suffering?
Yeah, it's true. That has to be that he feels and he does something.
Something happens.
But the two, we can't say that the two separate mitzvahs, to count them as two separate mitzvahs would be funny. Like the pasuk, the Rebbe has a beautiful diuk once. In one pasuk, in one medrash it says, Holach acher medosav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Another one says, He dobek b'medosav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Walk in the ways of Hashem. Another one says, cleave, connect to the ways of Hashem. The Rebbe says, the Pashas, there are two parts. In kindness, there's walking in the way of kindness, which is simply walking and helping other people and being active. And the other one is hidobik, to be dveikus neibish, and have the feeling of rachmanis for other Jews. So but there's two parts of the same mitzvah. To turn it into two mitzvahs, it's like strange to say that that's the pshat.
Maybe you mean the mitzvah goreret mitzvah. If you have a feeling for the mitzvah, goreret.
For sure. That's why you wouldn't count it as two. Exactly. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's hard to say you count it as two separate mitzvahs. And that's what Rabbi Avram meant. He meant that there is the maisa of having rachmanis to another yid, and there is the midah, and that's what the Rambam is counting as two separate things. It's a little difficult to say. So the third pshat the Rebbe says, a little bit of a l'chayra, it seems a little strange, but the Rebbe thinks that this is the best pshat. It's just like mitzvahs of Avas Hashem. It's not a tangible mitzvah. It's a feeling in the heart, right? You could count it as a mitzvah, even though it motivates. When you love Hashem, you do all the mitzvahs with joy. But it's counted as a specific mitzvah. Same thing here. A person could be kind. Why? Because the Torah says it makes sense. It makes sense to be kind to other human beings. It doesn't make sense to be cruel. But here there's a special mitzvah. The mitzvah is, why do I want to be kind? Why do I want to be a tzaddik? Why do I want to be a chosed? Why do I have rachmanas? Why do I have a chanina? All because I want to be doim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the mitzvah. The mitzvah is that I build my character to be doim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm a Jew, and bonim atam l'Hashem Elokeichem, and this is the mitzvah. And that's why it's mitzvah ches. This is a mitzvah avas Hashem, yidus Hashem, yichud Hashem. The first few mitzvahs are the most important mitzvahs. Why is it up there? Because I'm talking about building my character traits. When I'm building my character traits, I want to do everything to be doim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is a specific mitzvah. That's a specific mitzvah. It's a specific thing. I could be kind. have a feeling of kindness and do kindness, but it has nothing to do with being doimet to midos of Shalakadosh Baruch Hu, because it's a mitzvah in the Torah and it makes a lot of sense. And if you spread kindness, whatever atmosphere you spread, that's what comes back to you. If you throw rocks in the road, then you slip on your own rocks. If you spread out a feeling of a responsibility and you're responsible for others, others feel responsible to you. Okay, it all makes sense. But here is a specific mitzvah. It's counted as one of the Tiyag mitzvah, mitzvah number 8, that the tzaddik, chosid, rachum, v'chanun that we are should be lidomus lo yis'al. Hidomus bo yis'al k'fei yecholos. We build our character to be close to the Eibush as much as possible. And the Rebbe says that there's a beautiful word in the Vuchim where he says that most human beings, their midas are too extreme. Why? Because the feelings get involved. Midas sometimes mean character traits, or sometimes means the person feelings. So the character of a person is sometimes dragged with his feelings. So therefore it ends up being dragged to one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. But the Ribono Shel Olam, who is Shleimus of the Kula, so the Eibishter is not dragged, his midas are not dragged to the right and to the left, they're perfectly in the middle, and therefore a person should try to be doimet to the Eibishter. The Rebbe says that perhaps this is even deeper, going deeper into, it's not stam that the mitzvah is lidomus, that our character trait should be doimet to the Eibishter because we're children and he's the father. Because the perfect midas, the emes good midas, is when a person tries to be doimet to the Eibishter's midas. It's hard for a person to judge what's the perfect midas. Kind, you can start being very kind. There are people in this world that are so kind. First they're against using fur, and then they're against using meat, and then they're against using fish, and then they're against... Then they end up being very cruel to people. So like, they're jumping on a burger, they're protesting against this guy, this little poor guy is trying to sell a few furs to bring home a little matzah balls, and the Vaila. You don't know where you're coming or where you're going. The Eibishter's midas are perfect. The Eibishter's mitzvah derech hamemutza. So therefore, when a person goes to the Eibishter's midas, his midas are perfect midas. With this, the Rebbe shows a beautiful diuk in the Rambam and Hilchas Deis in the first Perek. Let's learn it here inside. Sagt der Rambam in Hilchas Deis, Perek Aleph, Halacha Dalet. Haderech HaYishor. What's the road which is the straight road in life? It's the perfect middle of every one of the character traits. It's the distance of both edges are equal. So the meilet's in the middle. Tomid the person always tries to guide that he should have his character trait exactly on the middle of the road. A person shouldn't be like, that he's full of anger. You press a button, all of a sudden it pops. No. On the other hand, he shouldn't be like a dead. It's dead flesh. You could take a knife and stab it, and he won't say ow, because it doesn't hurt him. He's dead. So a person should be beinani. Lo yichas el al davar godel sheroya lichas kadesh lo yatzik hayitza by pam acheres. The Rambam will say later in next halachas, doesn't mean that he's really angry, but he shows kilu his bekas, so people know not to step on his toes again. Beinav beyatzmei, the Rambam is going to say is miyushav, but he still takes a certain stand that this way people won't step on his toes again. Same thing when it comes to Tavo, that he's not on one end and on the other end. He doesn't fast all day. On the other hand, he doesn't try to eat all the Tavos in the world. Also, when it comes to having a job and to collecting wealth, He doesn't sit there and try to collect wealth. Whatever he needs in order to live like a mensch. And the rest of the time he spends in Avodas Hashem. That the tzaddik is toiv ma'at for him. In the one hand, he doesn't close his hand to not give any tzedakah. He doesn't give all his money away. He gives tzedakah as much as he can, and he gives loans to people that deserve to get loans. He's not jumping, but he's not sad. But his whole life is with the inner simcha. It says that there's big tzaddikim that when it comes to anivus or some things they go even a little overboard. But b'chlal there's the middle road. Kach lomdu the peirush mitzazu mahu nikra chanun afata yei chanun mahu nikra racham afata yei racham mahu nikra kodesh afata yei kodesh. There is a Koran Nevi'im Lakel B'chalois and Kanuyim Erech Apayim B'Rav Chesed Tzadik Yosher Tomim Gibor Chozek Kiyoytzav Alaydiya Shein Drochim Toivim V'Yeshorim V'Chayevodem Lahaneg Atzmai Behem U'Leidom As'elav Kifi Koiche. So here, on the one hand, the Rambam is talking from two sides of his mouth. On the one hand, the Rambam says that these are the midas beinanis. You should go. That's the way to do in every midah. Don't blow a fuse for every small thing. And don't never show a face of anger, because then people will step on your toes. Don't just sit there and try to collect wealth to the sky until you're an old man and you die and you did nothing with your wealth. And on the other hand, don't squander all your money in one day. So that makes sense, right? Then he says, all these things is lidomas b'derachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So which one is it? And the Rebbe says with Pashtus, they're both true. Because a person gets dragged to one end or to the other end. Because a person's emotions, a person's feelings drag him to one end or the other. It's hard to have a barometer, to stay in the middle. But how do I know I'm in the middle? You know, when you start driving, how do you know that you're really staying in your lane? It's like kunz. Yeah? How do you end up now? Eventually, it's in you. But when you learn how to drive the first day, how do you know that you stay? Maybe you should go a little into this lane, a little into that lane. So how do you know that you're be'emtza haderech? So there's a psakunz, there's a way to know. So what's the way to know? But the Eibishter, he's shleimas of the chulu. The Eibishter, it's not that his midas are dragging him. The Eibishter is so when a yid sets his midas, sets his clock on the Eibishter's clock, like the radio tells you can set your clock based on us. Why? Because our clock is perfect. You set your clock on our clock, your clock is right. So if you set your clock on the Eibishter's clock, your clock is going to be right. So that's a pshat, udoma b'derachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because when all your midas, your character is based on what the Rebbeinu Shalom says, not on what to feel good. It feels good to be a good human being. At the end of, you think you're being a very good human being, and you're very good maybe to the seals, but you're really, really not very good for the furriers. You're really not really nice to the meat packers. You don't know where you're going. Your car is really on the straight mahalach, or are you going a little to the left or to the right? When you set your clock based on the Rabbanan Shalom's clock, then you're going in the right way. So that's the pshat. That's but when a yid is valachta b'drocha, that he sets his midas to the Eibishter's clock, then he's going to end up going b'derech habeinanim. So that's what the Rebbe says. L'choyre is the pshat and the Rambam. Again, summarize it. 3 pshatim the Rebbe has to explain how this week's pasha ends up being the 8th mitzvah. It's so important. Mitzvah Yichud Hashem, Avasrim, Yirush. 8th mitzvah is Lidomas b'derachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lidomas b'derachav. All 613 mitzvahs is Derachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the third and final teretz is that the Rebbe says that a person could have good midas. The Torah says to have good midas. A person can have good midas lidomas b'derachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And why? Because when a person sets his clock based on the Eibish's clock, his clock is going to tick right. If a person's midas is set on the Eibish's midas, and the way the Eibish shows it as in Torah, then the midas of the person will be kefi haroyu. Like the Rambam describes that there are people that think they have good midas, but it's not kefi haroyu. Maybe they have too much chesed, they're too little chesed. They think, but they're really. So, but when you set your clock based on the Eibish's clock, then your midas are going to be kefi haroyu. And the Rebbe is moisef to this a few nice nekudis. In general, when we say the mitzvah is valchta b'derachav, to go in the Eibish, we know Chassidus says, what does it mean halicha? What does it mean to walk? So we say that the malachim is nasate lachom mahalchim ben oimdim ha'ela. Malachim always standing in one place. Malachim they never have spiritual growth. They never grow. Yeah, they grow, but they never jump. They go. So it's a bislach from step to step. But in the neshama, one moment he goes flying. The neshama is going to go flying. The Eibush said to the Navi,
How's the malach if they come out a step forward?
He takes a step.
How they can take a step if they don't have the mitzvahs?
So they have steps, whatever, maybe not through mitzvahs, but they understand the Eibush then, and they stand the more. But when Yamid does a mitzvah, he goes flying. But the malach understands more, and he's more ava, more yira, but it's all one little step at a time. Shenke and Ayid who has mitzvahs, he was flying. He presses the button, he goes flying to the moon in one shot. So that's the pshat, that Ayid is a mahalach. So the Rebbe, that this goes well with what we're saying in this mitzvah. For a person's midas to be perfect, so how does a person midas be perfect? Societies come, societies go. They think that this ism is the perfect way to life, and this ism is the perfect. And socialism, communism, maybe it's democracy, but maybe it's this way of democracy towards the light, to the left, upside down, inside out. Which is the right way? So the emes is when a yid is a mahalach, he's mahalach. He can jump to be connected to the Eibishter, then he could be emes change his midas, because midas don't change easily. But when a yid connects to the Eibishter in a way of halicha, that he gives a jump, so therefore the midas of a person really could change. The truth is that they say in English that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. So it says to people, you stay your whole life that way. But Judaism doesn't believe in that. Judaism believes that a person could change. But this is part of what really happens by a yid. Because a yid is v'holachta, because a yid is shaykh to be mahalach, therefore it's b'dracha. Therefore he can go in the drachim of the Eibishter. Another human being which doesn't have such a yicholos to v'holachta, it's hard to be b'drachim. Shekin a yid, which especially at Chassidus, which a yid has a chelak al kamei mal mamish. So the yid is shaykh because the yid is be'emes doim alaboido. It's not kilu. You should make believe you become like that. Because neshama be'emes is a chelak alakat to begin with. So therefore, a yid has a shaykh to be mahalech b'derochav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So today is a special day. Today is at 130. How much? 135 years since the Siyastos Septem Chetmimim. How much? 20? 23, I'm sorry. 123 years is Siyastos Septem Chetmimim. So it's a special day. It was that year was a kiyus like this year. The Rebbe Rashab had one son, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Chasna was Erev Shabbos, like those the good old days. But today it's thinking becoming a style again, for different reasons maybe. But trying to be fancy. But those days, the Minig Yisrael was, even though it brought Shulchan Aruch, they're not supposed to. But they used to make chasnas on Friday. You know why? Because
the people are not there.
anyway, so the Shabbos. So the Chosin Kala and the Kala's family, instead of having two pots, one in your house with a chicken and one in my house with a chicken, we'll take a big pot, we'll put in both chickens, and we'll make it three times the size, and we can invite even a few guests. And it's good. That will be, and he's well might as well. Anyway, you have to have a Suda for Shabbos. It will be the Suda for the Chassan and the Kala.
I thought they want to sell photography and drums. The music.
Save a lot of money.
What to say? Really, you saved a lot of money. So the Rebbe told the story. Huh?
It shouldn't be a bad idea to push this in the new industry, you know? All this.
Not happening.
Rabbi Levin. Levin?
Yeah.
My daughter got married Friday. 2 days ago on Friday. In Long Island.
And no music? No photography?
I don't know.
They had chicken soup?
I don't know.
2 pots of chicken soup?
But not in the hall.
No, the people doing it today on Friday are just making.
They do it before Shabbos.
They do it before Shabbos, right.
That was what
That was the whole day was a real thing. People were really hungry.
But there are some people now that here and there I hear about.
The Rebbe told the story that the Frierdiker Rebbe came Sunday for the Sheva Brachas. He came, his face was black, mamish like a Schwarzer, because he was called in the Sheva Brachas. He was called to the army. So was Tutman is in the middle of the Sheva Brachas. So he disappeared for a couple of hours. Changishmit Schwarzer, and tzachimach a bissel narish, and they sent him flying. He came back to his own Sheva Brachas, and he still didn't get a chance to get all the color off of his face.
You mean he put on an act like he's a nut or something?
Exactly, yeah.
So they disqualified?
Disqualified. And the Rebbe said the story. And the Rebbe said that the Rebbe Rashab, when it was his time to go to, it was a mandatory draft, and versteht sich every Yid in Europe, in Eastern Europe, they didn't want to go to the army. Western Europe, maybe it's a given Yid and they went, there was a little bit of religious tolerance. But in countries like Russia, the Yid, Afrum Yid didn't want to go. No Yid wanted to go. There was anti-Semitism that was very strong. He couldn't keep any mitzvahs. So Russia was split in at that time, and even now it's Bedoima, like 13 regions, like 13 states. So Lubavitch was under Vitebsk. You know, in the capital of Vitebsk, like Albany's the capital of New York, they sent that he has to come to the army. The Rebbe Rashab, his father went with him, and he met the governor of Vitebsk, and he said, "Look, this is my son. So I'd like to ask you as a special favor." The Rebbe Rashab had a big mahalach, the way he was. He was like, walked like a king, like the Jewish king.
He was the rich guy, right?
Yeah, the rich guy. So
Outside.
he said, "What does I?" So he said, "There's no way." So he said, "Look, I'm going to win this dispute with you. So why don't we make it easier?" So he said, "You know what? I'll make a deal with you. I want your son to be here one day in the barracks. You should put on the uniform." The Rebbe Rashab said, "No deal. I'm going right now to Petersburg, and my grandfather saved the Tsar from a terrible defeat against Napoleon, and the Tsar wrote that our family is going to be honored citizen for all generations. And now I'm going to go to Petersburg. My son is not going to serve 1 hour in the army. But if I have to go to Petersburg, you're going to pay the price." So the guy said, "I think, don't worry, I could take the price." Rebbe Rashab said, "You sure?" He said, "Yes." Rebbe Rashab said, "Okay, it's the deal." Went to Petersburg. Immediately they sent a telegram saying that Shneyasin, you can't touch a Shneyasin. No army, no Shneyasin, no army. But as soon as he got the telegram, he coiled over, and he was unbelievable pain. They called doctors to go on his golf. It was a few days, and he was unbelievable pain. They couldn't figure out what and when, and he died. And it was like the talk of the town. It was the talk of the town. People, this was a very public standoff. It was the talk of the town that the Rebbe Rashab had his way. So Yidus to know Valachta B'dרכיו. We have to go in the ways of the Rabban Shalom. We have to go in the Rabban Shalom's ways. If there's any obstacle in the way, so there's the Rebbe Rashab Marash tells us the Rebbe Rashab show us that there is a way. So the best way is, like the Rebbe Marash said, l'chatchila ariber, that we go straight. Valachta b'drochav. When a yid is mahalach, that he's mahalach and as avodas Hashem, like the neshamas that jump, is b'drochav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then the Eibishter makes nisim von the flaws for a yid, and yid matzliach and as avodas Hashem. So today,
is this the only yeshiva for 122 years learning the same thing?
yeah, today is a special day. Time for Tmimim is a yeshiva, learning Nigla, Chassidus. What the Indian is, Taka, that each should feel the Valachta, the B'drochav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Yid should feel, not stam, that he's doing the mitzvah b'maaseh, but also b'regesh halev. So it's not only shaykh for those that learned Amol 123 years ago, it's shaykh for every Yid, that this became a Seder in Klal Yisrael, that we're learning Kol HaTorah Kula, including Pnimiyas HaTorah, in a way that, like the Rebbe Rashab was Machadish, that we're learning Pnimiyas HaTorah not only as an abstract thing, but we're learning it in a way that we take a lesson, just like in the Sichas, where from everything that we learn in Pnimiyas HaTorah, we take a lesson and we apply it to our life in V'halachta b'drochav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Mevela, today is a special day. Maybe shall help that we should be Metzliach and our avodas Hashem Valachta b'drochav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should have a ksivach tzimah tov v'shana tov v'msuka.
When